Hello and welcome back to the Theodore Talk Show. I cannot thank all of you enough for all of the views, likes, and comments on my last video, Avoiding the Question. I actually just hit 100 likes on that video and I hit 1,000 views on that video on New Year's Eve. So thank you. I feel like I have to talk about the finale, but to be honest, I'm struggling to find the words because I'm just feeling so many emotions about it. And let's be honest, all of the blaring problems with the finale have already been discussed by so many people. So I think in this video, I want to talk about what I discussed in my last video, Avoiding the Question. That video was about Mike Wheeler, and how in Season 5, they truly appear to be avoiding the question of Mike's feelings for everyone, Will and Eleven. I was holding out hope for the finale, blind hope. I hoped that they would at least address some of the drama that they had created, but unfortunately, in the finale, they continue to avoid the question of Mike's feelings. When the ship war between Malevins and Bylers was happening before Season 5 came out, it felt like we were all counting on this big answer. I mean, I thought that too. I made a whole video on it. Turns out that the finale still doesn't answer that question. In my last video, Avoiding the Question, I stated that all it would really take to resolve Will and Mike's relationship would be a one-on-one conversation. Holy shit, I take it back.
Friends? No thanks. Best friends.
What I should have said is that all it would take would be for Mike and Will to have a genuine conversation, which they never had. The lighthearted and jokey tone of this scene is just off-putting, and it doesn't match all of the emotional buildup that they have created over the course of their show. Of course, the team defeats Vecna in the final battle, but then Eleven fucking dies. Her and Mike have a final moment together. I really like this moment between Mike and Eleven. I'm gonna sound extremely glib and pessimistic, but just hear me out. That scene truly, accurately represented Mike's role in Eleven's life. Regardless of how he actually treated her, which, let's be honest, it wasn't the best, to her, he represented freedom and a new life outside of the lab. He was probably the first person to ever show her real love, real kindness, and real acceptance. I'll be honest, I don't think he was ever a good boyfriend to her, but he did change her life, and I really like the way that they represented that in this scene. They also share a kiss, so you could argue that Malevins have won this ship war. But there was something about this scene that threw me off. I noticed that Mike still doesn't say I love you back, even when Eleven says it first, and he knows that she's about to die. I will say, that is an interesting choice for their last moment together, and it still leaves this sense of ambiguity, which shouldn't really be there if they're the endgame couple. And of course, I have to talk about the epilogue. The tension in this scene is incredibly heavy. They all finish the game, they're all emotional, and each of them goes to put their D&D book back on the shelf. Will is the second to last person to place his book on the shelf. Who's the last person? You've already guessed it, it's Mike Wheeler. I don't know if Finn Wolfhard was just overacting or if this was a deliberate choice, but he notices that Will was the last person to put his book away. He becomes emotional and actually starts to cry, and he slowly places his own book back on the shelf. But then he lingers his hand there, kind of touching his book and Will's at the same time. This also leaves a considerable amount of ambiguity. The Duffer Brothers have done something devious here. They have allowed this debate to continue, possibly forever. This has been left so open-ended, not a compliment by the way, that the question of Byler and Malevin, and ultimately Mike Wheeler's feelings, is still extremely up in the air. Overall, the finale just felt strange. It felt incomplete and way too short, and even led people to believe that there was a secret episode coming out on January 7th. This isn't for no reason. There was a clear lack of effort put into certain parts of the story. In season 4, Will makes Mike a painting. He gives the painting to Mike, lies to him, and tells him that 11 commissioned him to make it, and then proceeds to spill his heart out to Mike. All while saying that this is how 11 feels for him. Because Mike thinks that these are about 11's feelings, the speech that Will gives him actually gives him the motivation to tell 11 that he loves her. But as he's telling this to her, she's not buying it. They never bring up the painting in season 5. But during Mike's final scene in the epilogue, you can see Will's painting hanging up next to him. And I'm not gonna lie, that leaves me with a little bit of frustration. That they deliberately left out parts of their story out of fear of making people angry, upset, or uncomfortable, even if it meant a better story. I'm not going to lie, I always had Byler doubt. Like I stated in my video, the T on Byler versus Maleven, regardless of how much people want Byler to happen, and how much there might be signals there or signs there, I always thought that it took a considerable amount of faith to truly believe that Byler was going to be endgame. Byler aside, I dislike the way that they wrote Mike's character and his relationships with Will and 11. As it goes for 11, well, he wasn't a good boyfriend to her, as I said earlier. He did love her, but that didn't make him a good partner to her. They also don't seem to be romantically involved in season 5, so it's a little confusing that they suddenly have this romantic moment. And then not saying I love you just makes it even more weird to me. As it goes for Will, well, I don't really think that Mike has feelings for Will, to be completely honest. However, I do agree with Byler's that there was queer baiting involved here, and Mike's relationship with Will just wasn't handled with care. Will just suffered so much, and then he didn't even get to tell Mike that he liked him. He just accepted his own defeat before he even tried. That's kinda depressing. Mike has been roasted to absolute oblivion in season 5 because he appears to have lost all of his observational skills and intelligence. He doesn't open up to anyone and no one opens up to him. Even though he's the heart? Please comment your thoughts below. Thank you all so much for watching. I think this is the last video I'm going to make about Stranger Things. I do have some video ideas cooking in the back of my head, but if you have any ideas or any topics that you want me to talk about, please comment them down below. Happy New Year, everyone, and see you in the next video.